welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I am a part-time reseller on POSHMARK. Today I want to talk about things that you can do to get consistent and daily sales on POSHMARK. These are things that I can't really stress enough how important they are, but I think some of these screenshots and graphs I'm going to show you in this video are going to prove to you why these things are so important. So I hope you stick around and keep watching, and make sure that you're subscribed because I don't want you to miss the future reselling content that I do here on this channel. I do 2 videos every single week with new content, and I would love to have you stick around for more. But let's get started and talk about what you can do to really bring in those consistent sales. Okay, so the number one thing that I recommend you do every single day that is so important to do is to share your closet. A lot of people, I guess, don't understand what that means and why it's important. And, a lot of people question like how many times a day they should be sharing, or if they even need to be sharing that much. So it's really important to share multiple times throughout the day. And my general rule of thumb is I share once every hour. And so I have about 700 listings active in my closet right now. That kind of changes every single day, but roughly that's how many I have. And I share every hour. So, and I think that kind of gets me to the point of not going over the 10,000 shares each day. And that every hour is every hour that I'm awake. It's not, as I'm sleeping too. And so this is really important to do because 1, gets more eyes on your listings, and 2, it pushes them into the feed more that, more people are going to see. And so if you are not sharing your items and they are not, recently shared, they're not going to show up in those feeds as often as other listings would. And if someone's scrolling through the new just in feed or, the just added feed, they're not going to see your listings if they're not being shared. So it's very important to share every hour, every couple hours, as often as you can. Just sharing once a day is not going to cut it. Just sharing 3 times a day is not going to cut it. You need to be sharing more and more throughout the day to get those consistent daily sales. And this is also why I stress having a VA, because having a VA will share your closet for you throughout the day, and you won't have to share it because, who wants to be sitting there sharing every hour of every day? No one wants to do that. And so if you have a VA, you can schedule your VA to share for you. And you could say, share my closet this many times. You can share it on a slow speed or a medium speed or anything like that. And you can pick and you can really customize it to fit you and your desires best. And so I recommend, if you haven't gotten a VA, definitely try one out. You could try a free trial to, just try it out to see how you like it, if it's gonna, share for you. And also it does other things such as sending out offers and relisting and delisting. But just in general, having it for the sharing is really, really nice. So I recommend trying a VA if you haven't already to do all that sharing for you, and that's going to help you stay more consistent with the sales. So the next thing that is very important to do is to list daily. So this, again, is one of those things that people don't think is that important, or they skip over it. And really, it goes to show that when you are listing daily, you're going to have consistent sales. And a lot of people say, well, if I'm not selling, daily, then why would I list daily? Because then I'm just adding more and more to my closet. And the answer is because the more you list, the better you're going to be. And even though you're going to list every single day, you may have a day here and there where you don't get sales, but it's going to be way more consistent than it would be if you weren't listing daily. And I have a perfect example of this last year where I wasn't listing daily. I was listing every so often. I would list, maybe once a day, or I would skip days here and there, and that was really hurting my sales. And I actually find that it's really hard once you get off the algorithm, once you stop listing daily, to then start up again. The sales just don't come in as fast. So I really, really can't stress enough how important it is to be listing every single day. I switched from 1 last year, or something, that's what I was telling myself I was doing. I was doing 1 each day, to 5 each day this year. And that is going such a long way. And here's a graph. Actually, I wanted to put this in here because I figured this would be really telling to a lot of people to show how important it is to be listing every single day. So in each year that I've been on Poshmark so far, it correlates to the amount of items that I've actually sold and the number of sales. So for example, in 2019, I kind of listed a decent amount, but not really that much. That was the first year I really actively started selling. And you can see the sales kind of reflect that. 2020, I didn't list as much because I ended up actually taking off most of the year because of COVID and because I wasn't shipping things out. And so you could see my sales are lower. Then in 2021, I listed a lot because I really started ramping up in 2021. And then you can see my sales kind of matched that, and they were really high. And then same thing with 2022. 2022, I guess I felt like I wasn't listing that much. I wasn't listing daily. And when I was only listing one item each day. And you can really see that in the way that my sales are reflected in 2022. Now in 2023, the year isn't even over, and this graph proves that the point still stands. I've listed way more than I've listed any other year thus far on Poshmark, and you can see that my sales are way higher than any other year, even though the year is not even over. So it just really goes to show that the years that you list more are the years that you're gonna get more sales. You're gonna sell more items. And so when I tell people that it's important to list daily, I don't think they understand why it's important, but this graph right here will show you that it's so important because when you list more, you're gonna sell more. It's just the way that it works. And so keep listing every single day, list more and more every single day, and it's going to bring in those sales. Okay, so the next item that is really, really important to do is relisting your items. And I actually got a comment the other day on one of my videos, and I love these kind of comments because it makes it so there's a discussion that we could talk about. But I got a comment from someone that said, like, they don't relist, they think it's pointless, and they'd rather just, spend that time on a fresh listing and the item will sell eventually. And I really had to strongly disagree with this, and there are many reasons why. I think it really goes to show that, somebody who's just willing to wait for their listing to sell, even though it's like really, really stale, like if you relist your items, they're stale after 60 days. That is a proven fact. Even Poshmark has told us that. So by not relisting your item, you're kind of like allowing things to sell slower, and you're allowing yourself to not make those sales that you should be making. And that's bad because, one, things go out of style, things go out of, people don't want them as much, they're not trending as much. And so like if you're gonna wait for an item to sell, it may not actually sell, or if it does, it's gonna sell multiple years later and it's not gonna sell for the value that you would have liked originally. So when people say that they don't relist, to me, I just think that you're hurting your business when you're doing that. And by not relisting, you're really taking away from the amount of sales that you could be making. So relisting is not only important to, get those items so they're not stale anymore, but it's also important because it's showing that you're listing 5 new items or however many that you're relisting to your closet every day, along with the other items that you're listing. And yes, it's important to do both. So you can't just pick, to list or to relist. You have to do both. It's kind of like an equation here. And so I think when people say they don't relist, I always think why? It's so simple, it doesn't take a lot of time, and especially if you have a VA, like I mentioned earlier, the VA will relist for you, and all you have to do is say okay, relist 5 items that have been sitting longer than 60 days, and all you do is fill in the blanks. It makes it really easy. You don't have to do any math or anything. And so by not relisting, you're hurting yourself. And so why would you want to not get consistent sales? Why would you not want to just do something that is so basic and simple? So really, relisting is so important. Do it every single day. And like I said, I list 5 items a day, and I also relist 5 items a day. So that kind of formula is key to success. And also, not to mention that every time I relist an item, I ended up getting so much more attention on that item, right after relisting it. And so I think that just goes to show that relisting does actually make a huge difference on Poshmark. The next item to getting consistent daily sales on Poshmark is to make sure that you have good photos, because if your photos are not good, people are not going to buy your items. And so I've talked about in prior videos about how it's so important to make sure that your photos are good and make sure that you're taking them in good lighting and that there's no weird shadows, or that they're, the coloring is right. And so a lot of people always ask me how to take a good photo and what I recommend. You don't need any crazy light setup. You don't need any crazy backgrounds or anything. I simply just think a white wall and natural light is the best solution. And I use my phone camera. I have the iPhone 14, and it doesn't matter what camera you have or phone you use, as long as you have, a good quality camera, in a sense of that it's not going to take blurry pictures. And if you have good natural daylight and a white background, you're pretty much set. You could do it with just those things. And so I always recommend taking a picture against on a mannequin or something like that. I just think that makes for a better picture. So I take my pictures during the day when there's natural daylight, and that actually helps me get the most accurate coloring and also no weird shadows on the item. I will show to the side here a demo of me kind of taking those photos and going through and showing, how important it is to get every angle of the item and make sure that you get most accurate lighting of the item. And that in turn will really help you get more success with your sales on Poshmark. And the final thing that I can't stress enough that is so important to do on Poshmark is to send out offers daily, and in fact I actually recommend sending them right after you get a like on the item. And I have an example of that too, and this happens more often than not, but I just figured this time I would screenshot it to prove that it's so important to do this. So I sent out an offer on an item right after someone liked the item, and within like a minute or two they bought the item. And so if you send out an offer that's reasonable, somebody is probably likely to buy it. And so I recommend setting out those offers immediately after you get a purchase. And odds are you're probably going to have good success doing that. So whether you send out offers to likers or offers through the bundle, it doesn't really matter. As long as you send out those offers, the items are fresh on people's minds. So they're thinking about it. So if they like the item and you send them a great offer that they can't resist, they're going to purchase it. They're going to be like, oh, that's a great deal. I might as well get it. But if you wait to send out offers until like the end of the week or later on that day, they might not be thinking about that item anymore. They might have found a better item, or they might just not want the item anymore. But if you catch them right away, you're going to have more luck and you're going to actually sell more. And then the more you sell, the more that you're going to actually make more sales. So I find that the algorithm really works in your favor where you end up making sales in batches because, you've brought in a couple sales and then they just keep coming from there. So making one sale and then making a bunch is going to help you. So just send out those offers and you'd be surprised how many people are willing to accept your offer. Okay, so that is a wrap on the things that I think are really the most important things that you could be doing on Poshmark to get daily and consistent sales. These things I swear by, I've seen results, and I've actually had many people come to me saying that they've tried out these methods and all of them are working for them. So I can't stress it enough, and I think it's so important to take the time to not be lazy and just do the right thing from the start. Send out those offers, share daily, list daily, relist, and do all that, and you're gonna have more success than you would think. So let me know down below if you've started implementing any of these and if they've been working for you, and also let me know what you think are the most important things to be doing daily on Poshmark that bring you the most consistent sales. And if you want to see another video on features that you should be using on Poshmark, you can click right here. And if you want to see some reselling hacks that you should definitely try that are going to help you, definitely click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.